So we've got this video here. This is from Lucy Rohden. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. It's called "Why Do College Football TV Personalities Hate College Football?" This should be interesting. I'm a big college football fan, as you guys know. You know what? I should actually go through my whole playoff thing and what I got right and wrong and stuff. It wouldn't be very fun. I'll do that another day. But yes, here's the video. Why do college football TV personalities hate college football?
Joel Klatt came out this week with a take that is so bad that I had to do my hair not well today, if we're being honest. Put on
Really? I actually like Joel Klatt. I wonder what he said. That was so bad and egregious.
some mascara, sit down, set up my camera and my microphone, because I just can't let that happen without a response. So he went on some show and said that we don't want Cinderellas in college football.
I remember this. I hated this. I hated this take. I hated this take. This take was so bad and so dumb and so stupid.
1, speak for yourself. 2,
That's a different show on Fox. FS1, I think. No, didn't they cancel that? They canceled that show.
shut up. And he said that the NCAA tournament, like March Madness, is the worst tournament in sports, the dumbest one. Shut up again.
Wait. He said March Madness is the worst tournament in all of sports? That's kind of insane. I think March Madness is actually the best tournament in all of sports. Now, I am not going to really rush to sort of give my opinion on the NFL, because I haven't really followed the NFL very closely until this past year, and even then I didn't follow it super closely. I just watched Red Zone every Sunday or so, and that was pretty much it. But I would say March Madness is better than the NFL playoff, because you have more parity all across the tournament. One problem that the NFL has had is that from what I've heard, I've been asking people questions and things, but one problem that the NFL has had historically is that there's not exactly parity across the AFC, between the AFC and the NFC. So you can have these really competitive tournament games or playoff games or whatever. You can have these really competitive playoff games, but in the end, the Super Bowl itself might not end up being that competitive, and then you kind of have a blowout Super Bowl game. In March Madness, you don't have that. It's all spread out pretty well, to the point where if everybody wins, you've got like 4 number ones in the Final Four. You know, what I'm saying is not if everyone wins. If there are no upsets, then you get to the Final Four and you've just got 4 ones. You know, that could happen. And those teams are all so good that those games would all be competitive, and you would end up with a really good national championship game. When was the last time we had a blowout March Madness championship game? I can't think of that time, personally. But we've had blowout college football championship games, and we've had blowout NFL championship games. So, you know, I do think that that makes March Madness a better tournament than those other tournaments.
And that it is the least fair tournament in sports. I've always said men should not have access to microphones. This is why I think that. Joel Klatt saying this super dumb, stupid take, which is just a bad one, has sort of been a pattern that I've noticed this year, and maybe it's because I'm more in the media space than I previously have been, and the conversation around college football has been more, heated recently, but the voices that represent this sport, the ones with the largest platforms and the biggest audiences and the most power, have really seemed to not like this sport very much. I think you can go back as to the Lane Kiffin saga, where you were seeing the way that sort of the College Game Day crew was really riding for Lane Kiffin to get everything he wanted, and it felt kind of yucky, felt kind of gross. And then you move on to Notre Dame getting left out of the playoff and 2 Group of 5 teams getting in. And there's a whole video I made on this that you should check out. And you have Paul Feinbaum telling everybody that the Group of 5 should not be there. They shouldn't be allowed.
Oh, yeah, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. I actually understand being mad that Notre Dame didn't get included, because they were a pretty good team. I think they could have been competitive in the playoffs. But the idea that we shouldn't have group of 5 schools is ridiculous. I think that the Group of 5 schools being included in the playoffs It was one of the most interesting things about the playoffs this year, was them being included, because people are like, how well are they going to do? Are they going to be able to beat teams from more prestigious conferences? These were all like really interesting questions that like we tuned in to see if they were true. Now, the one thing I would have done, I heard the recent announcement that they're not expanding the playoff. The one thing I would have done is actually added one game to the playoff and added one team to the playoff. I personally think that they should add an additional team for the a group of 5 teams to play each other. It should be a play-in game. And then one of those teams plays, fills in one of the slots in the college football playoff, in the following round. So you'd have like basically one round where it's just 2 group of 5 teams going at it. I personally think the group of 5 conferences would love that as well, because they'd be like, oh, this is great for our own sort of like, I don't know, notch, if you will, in our own category of the FBS, which is like, we're in the FBS, we're not in the FCS, but we're not as prestigious as the other conferences. We have our own national champion. So you have this game in the playoff where it's the 2 group of 5 schools that the college playoff committee deems to be the best. They play each other, and then you have a team that's crowned as the group of 5 champion. I think that's cool. I think it's a really cool concept. And you have a game that's more competitive than the previous group of 5 games, because they weren't really that competitive. And so then that would probably boost ratings and things, so that then you're not in a situation where these ADs or whatever, or the conferences, the networks or whatever, are looking at these games and reevaluating. They're like, why are we letting in group of 5 teams play when they're blowouts and they don't do well for ratings? As well for ratings as a game with more parity would have throughout the course of the game, right? People are going to tune out at halftime if one team is beating the other by 30 points. That's just the reality of things. That's how most people roll. So that sort of would remove that issue as well. Also, it would reduce the amount of blowout games you would have in that first round, theoretically, because you've only got one group of 5 school instead of 2 group of 5 schools.
Sankey is pissed off because he was actively campaigning for 7 SEC teams to get into the college football playoff.
Ridiculous.
These voices who are in charge of college football just shitting all over it all the time. And to the point where so many of these people have had to come out and be like, hey, no, we at ESPN, we're not here to promote one conference or another. Like, Nick Saban's cracking jokes about it, but you can feel sort of this resentment for what college football is from these voices that should be convincing you to love it. And for me, as a fan, and I guess sort of a media member myself, I don't really know. I wouldn't call myself that. I know how I behave. I don't think I've earned that title. It's really like bumming me out. Like, shut up. Because for me, when I look at what makes college football great, and I think the consensus of college football fans would agree with this, is it is not the 12-team playoff. It is not a Georgia-Alabama national championship game. It is when App State beats Michigan, and how that is still such an insane part of the culture in Western North Carolina. I grew up an hour from there, and you cannot go anywhere without seeing somebody wearing a 2007 App State Michigan shirt. They still sell them at the Walmart. Or the insane vitriol and hate and energy of a Red River rivalry game. Or any of these regional rivalries that mean so much to these teams, where Texas A&M should be the happiest team in the world because they're going to the playoff, and they're all still pretty bummed out about not beating Texas. And the pageantry of it all, Texas A&M is the perfect example for that, of just the weird stuff they got going on down there. College football's simple purpose was, let's see the best teams play each other, and that is it.
Right.
That is what we want. We want to see the best teams win and the best teams advance and everything about the best teams. And everything about the best teams. I would watch the NFL. I would simply watch the NFL. Because the NFL...
No, because I get what you're saying, but I disagree. Because here's the thing. The NFL and college football just feels so different. You've got live bands playing. You don't have copyrighted music playing. You don't have like 5 copyrighted songs playing every 30 seconds like you do in the NFL. It's just different. You've got younger players. To to me, it's just like to say, oh, if I wanted to watch the best teams, I would play the NFL. I mean, I would watch the NFL. That may be true when we're talking about athleticism, but I mean, when it comes to the style of play that's in college, and not just the style of play, but just the atmosphere, I have not seen. Now, I probably need to watch more NFL, but I have not seen an NFL crowd that has rivaled the best 5 college football crowds I've observed in me watching the college football this past year. I haven't. There's just a level of pageantry and passion that you don't get when you have 45-year-old dads on the verge of divorce with beer bellies trying to stay awake when they have work in the morning. That just doesn't carry the same level of excitement and electricity that you get in a college football frat infused environment where you've got 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, running around shirtless at a college football stadium, chugging beers, and you shouldn't be drinking if you're underage, but chugging beers and getting really rowdy, letting off a lot of steam after having to perform as well as you want to, put it as much effort as you want into your academics. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all throughout the entire week. Finally, you have a day sort of like let out all of the pent-up energy that you've had. Finally, you have a day to have fun with your friends. In the NFL, you've already had Saturday, right? You've already had Saturday to chill and to relax, to do other things that you enjoy. And so, like, by the time Sunday rolls around, you have the doom of Monday looming above your head, right? You have like other family members, probably because you're older, you got more responsibilities. There's just like a level of, you could just like let loose. There's a feeling of being able to just like let loose and have fun as a college football fan on a Saturday that you just don't get on a Sunday. There's so much more passion, so much more energy. You can even say that you want that passion and energy more than you want to see like the greatest athlete in the world throw a football, right? Because it all adds together, right? It all adds together. You probably wouldn't watch NFL games if the stadiums were empty, right? I'm not saying that the NFL atmosphere totally sucks, but it's just worse than college. You wouldn't watch the best athletes throw the ball around if the stadium was empty. So having the best players on the field isn't the most important thing in the world when it comes to deciding which league you want to watch.
How is objectively a higher quality version of what these people
also want. I want to add that rivalries also being I think they're fiercer in college than in the NFL. For the most part, these fierce rivalries in college are also something to come to, right? Because you are not going to have something like Alabama Auburn in the NFL. Like maybe there's like one or so rivalry that's like that, but you don't have like these dime a dozen rivalries that are very intense, and regardless of the level of play, there's always something special to those games, right? So there's that aspect of it as well.
Want college football to be. My favorite parts about college football are the upsets, are the weirdness. This was such a moment that like I became a true hater, was the reaction to Duke making the ACC championship game. How silly is that? How
that was
objectively
crazy.
Funny, and how purely college football it is for Duke, who was 7-5 and had lost to UConn, to somehow through a weird rule make it to the ACC championship game. That is college football. That's why I like it, because there is so much weirdness and chaos and just like an insane nature to it. The heart of the college football season is the regular season and the weirdness and the chaos and the culture and how deeply people care. Obviously, the sport has become way more professional and capitalistic over the last few years with NIL and conference realignment.
Well, this is true. I still think that the game on the field is still the game on the field, right? I do think conference realignment has sort of messed with schedules in a way that's a little bit unfortunate, but still, the product on the field is pretty fire. So I wouldn't say that the capitalism has ruined the sport at the moment.
And the transfer portal and every sort of thing that's going on. And I don't think it's wrong to say that there are a lot of issues in college football. I agree. There are so many issues with the foundation of how college football is set up. But the sport itself is still pure. The sport itself still rules. Memphis beating Arkansas rules. UCLA beating Penn State is awesome. Where Joel Klatt would tell you, no, Penn State should have won because they're more talented. We want to see the best team win. No, we don't. We want to see this sport play out in the way it was meant to, which is with complete and total chaos. I just don't know any sport where, one, the people who support it hate it so much. Like, okay. And two, the idea of hating a Cinderella, like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are we doing? It's very...
I will say that I think, like, let's take JMU, for example, being in the college football playoff. I think the fact that they're in the college football playoff is interesting, and people will want to hear TV personalities talk about, that team being in the playoffs from that perspective. But when you go beyond that, it's like, I don't know how many people actually care about JMU versus care about a Notre Dame. When you're at a point where you have teams that people don't really care about on their own, getting put into the college football playoff above teams that people actually care about, I can see why TV personalities specifically would be a little upset, because it's like, man, we could be talking about the Fighting Irish for 3 more weeks, but instead we're talking about, JMU for like 1 or 2. I can understand why some personalities would be irked, because at the end of the day, personalities generally will try to push for the thing that makes for the best television, maybe not necessarily, or makes for the best ratings for them. Maybe not the thing that's best for the sport, or is the most fair even.
Very emblematic of our current day and age in society. We're like, we hate the little guy. What? I don't know. It's just been so disheartening for me as a fan of this sport, because the people who I used to really enjoy what they have to say, I don't really want to listen to anymore, because it's just bringing this level of like darkness around something that's not that dark. There are issues, but at the end of the day, it's college football, man. This is not the end of the world. For me, looking back at college football, my favorite moments ever are the weird ones and the underdog ones. And I think most college football fans would agree. I don't know. It's just made me sad recently, because I'm trying to I want to consume content by people who actually love college football. It just makes me sad, because loving college football is not something that is lame. It's very cool, actually. It's very cool. I'm very popular. I have a lot of friends. But I didn't blend my concealer that well. Whoopsies. I promise to love college football on this channel, so.
Same. And I love college football as well. And one thing is, like, with my content as well, I mean, I love politics, but like, I want to make content that goes beyond politics as well. So like, college football is like a really easy avenue for me to do that, because I genuinely love college football. So yeah.